Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Again, a topic from the West Asian war, because the war that began in the last week of February seems to have been raging even today. So we are talking about around 4 weeks and more, and the controversy in West Asia continues to just drag on and on. Now we know that yesterday Mr. Trump, the president of US, said unexpectedly that he wants some ceasefire, but the ceasefire was not unconditional. He said, I'm ready to give a 15-point peace program to Iran, provided that Iran is ready to surrender, provided that Iran is ready to totally call off its nuclear enrichment program, to which Iran responded by saying no. And in fact, something more interesting happened when Iran in fact threatened that already the world is reeling under severe energy crude crisis because of closure of Strait of Hormuz. Yes, the narrow strategic choke point that Iran commands. Already Iran has been using this choke point now as a strategic weapon of the war. So Mr. Trump says all the countries must come together and pressurize Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, because if Hormuz is shut, that means all the countries in the eastern region, we could talk about Asian economies like India, China, we could talk about South Korea, Australia, Japan. Most of these countries have a fuel shortage right now, LNG shortage right now, with areas like Kharg Island in Iran, with areas like Ras Laffan in Qatar, all being attacked, retaliated upon by Iran. But Iran says, I will open the strait, but not to my enemies, but only to my friends. And as a matter of surprise to Mr. Trump, Iran has finally decided to allow a safe passage to certain oil tankers and ships for selected friendly countries, including India, Russia, China, and Pakistan. Now, this is quite paradoxical, because just last week, Pakistan became one country which said Pakistan is ready to mediate between the Iran versus US warfare. At that time, Iran was angry. Iran said, we do not need a third-party intervention. In fact, it is a war initiated from US. It is a war which will now not conclude due to US demands. And Iran will continue its demands very strongly. Give me war indemnity, maintain and resupply all my broken infrastructure. At the same time, Iran says, I continue my nuclear enrichment program, my asymmetric warfare, my axis of resistance. And no wonder today, Cyprus, Lebanon, Qatar, Kuwait, all these countries are quite an important part of the war. So now something very interesting here happened as Mr. Trump, he has been encouraging other countries to pressurize Iran to open up Hormuz. So about 22 countries, and all these countries happen to be US allies naturally. So these countries like Japan, Korea, Australia are now coming together, almost making an informal organization, a coalition which are now forcing Iran to stop their militants, to stop groups like Houthi, to stop groups like Hezbollah or Hamas, to take any action against oil tankers, commercial vessels of these allied countries. They are also now threatening Iran that Iran must give up and Iran should open the Strait of Hormuz. So the coalition of 22 countries is taking a very important position. They want to force Iran, they really want to negotiate with Iran, or in fact pressurize Iran as well to open Hormuz. They have warned that closing the strait will definitely threaten not just global energy security, but also the prospect of global peace. We know that 30% of total energy supplies, they all pass from Strait of Hormuz, and a closure in the long term could mean skyrocketing oil prices. Already, we are looking at the prospect of one oil barrel crossing $150 per barrel price, and that's a lot of price. At the same time, Russia has now assumed a supplier position. Russia now continues to be the supplier of Ural oil. At the same time, Russia is also thinking of increasing prices dramatically. It has become a Russian-dominated monopoly because the Gulf oil has completely stopped. So therefore, due to this disruption, not just the crude but also LNG, LPG, all these are creating a global inflation. Economic activities are being shut. There is a prospect of unemployment, and indeed, it is something that will also lead to food shortages in the times to come. So therefore, the US says that I have temporarily allowed the sale of some Iranian oil too many countries just to reduce the crisis. Also, US says the same US which was imposing tariff last year on countries for importing Russian Ural oil has now selectively also allowed some countries to temporarily buy the Ural oil, because US knows neither US nor its allies in the West Asia can now safely use Hormuz. So therefore, US tells countries, take some Iranian oil, take some oil from Russia. But could this be a long-term solution? Not really, because now countries are already discussing military escort, diplomatic talks to get this strait opened. But the real shock came in the form of something else. Now, we are looking at a strait called Hormuz that is near Iran. But today, rather than talking about negotiation, Iran in fact came and said that whatever is happening in Hormuz is one thing. I will use it as a strategic tool. I will only supply passage to few countries as I mentioned, but I may tomorrow, if US is persistent on attacks and if Israel continues airstrikes on Lebanon, on Iran, then Iran might also ask the Houthi militants, who are very rampant in the Yemen area, to also start doing blockages and problems in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Now, this will be a real problem, because if Hormuz is shut and Bab el-Mandeb also closes down, then the entire big supply chain that starts from Mediterranean, goes to Suez Canal, comes to the Red Sea, finally flows through Bab el-Mandeb and the Gulf of Aden, will get choked. And if this is also shut, then the oil shortage, the gas shortage will assume disastrous proportions. So, if you look at Hormuz, which we have spoken about multiple times, be very sure of the map. Also remember Karg Island, also remember Queshum Island. So, this is about 20 to 30% of global oil and gas supply. So therefore, once it closes, there is a complete supply chain disruption. And that's the whole reason why 22 countries are forcing Iran to open it up. But now, Iran, rather than opening it, is giving another threat. You can see it right here. This is Yemen. This is Bab el-Mandeb I was talking about. That is a linkage into Gulf of Aden and eventually in Arabian Sea. So this is the best alternate route right now if Hormuz here happens to be shut. But then, even if Bab el-Mandeb is shut, if there is a supply chain disruption here, then the future of energy security is quite bleak. So you must know, because UPSC loves to ask these map-based questions about Bab el-Mandeb. Which areas does it connect? Now, do remember, we have discussed in detail about Sudan, about the port of Sudan, which Russia had acquired because port of Tartus in Syria has been lost to Russia. So do remember about this entire region. Somaliland was in the news when Israel became the first country to formally recognize Somaliland. We have spoken about Eritrea, Ethiopia. We have spoken about the Badmi area, Tigray area. So all these are important map things you must remember, okay? So therefore, Bab el-Mandeb tomorrow, if it gets shut, then this is a critical artery, an alternate artery for supply chain. So then, hence what happens? All the Asian countries will become more energy deprived. So Iran, what does it do today? Does Iran say, I'm completely going to choke Hormuz? No. Iran in fact says, now I will use it strategically. Right now, Iran has said that I will open it selectively. I will charge some fees on it. Iranian parliament has been deciding how to price various countries and oil tankers as the fees for passing through the Strait of Hormuz. But right now, selectively, it says, I have 5 friendly countries, Russia, China, which was very expected also, then Iraq, Pakistan and India. It is these selected 5 countries which will have a safe passage through Hormuz. But if it is for enemy countries, particularly US and its allies, European Union tankers, US tankers, then Iran says, I am not going to allow, including Israel, no passage to them, no safely opening of Hormuz. So this is the situation right now. And if you talk about the war exclusively, then very interesting development happened today morning. In fact, I was talking in the Hindu class about the same today, that Mr. Trump says, it was a front page news actually, that talks are going on quite well and we might soon mediate with Iran. We might come down to a ceasefire, but then these look like a very unilateral sort of statements, because Iranian government hasn't issued a similar statement at all. In fact, Iran said there is no talk going on. There is no scope of mediation going on. And as US talks about these tall claims of ceasefire, Iran and Israel are still airstriking each other. Lebanon, that's the Hezbollah territory, especially southern Lebanon, Litani River area that flows in Mediterranean, is the key point of contention between Israel and Lebanon right now. So war is pretty much going on. So quick practice question here. With reference to major global oil choke points, please see these statements. 1. The Hormuz Strait. connects Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman? That's a map-based question. Second, nearly 1/5 of global oil trade passes through Hormuz. Third, the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait connects the Red Sea with Gulf of Aden. It is important for shipments moving through the Suez Canal. Now, Suez Canal, Panama Canal, all these again, map work is crucial for you. So which of these statements are valid? Do quickly let me know the answer. You can answer in the comment box as well, or you could join our Telegram community by scanning this QR code here. It's a group of growing community of UPSC aspirants where we talk about all exam relevant stuff, material, questions, PDF. So please download that and be a part of the group. A quick reminder, now a very good news for those students who are planning to take admission in 27-28 UPSC or any UPSC course at StudyIQ. We are offering the massive Safalta Mahotsav sale. The sale has been extended up to 31st March. That means you get 60% off plus double validity. And if you sign up for the course by using my code SPLIVE, then maximum discount is possible. So in return, get a guarantee for your selection. But hurry up, it's a limited period offer. Thank you.